Have you ever felt as if your presence has become invisible? Not because you've changed, but because other people have started treating you as if you don't matter anymore. They call less, ask less, forget little things like your birthday, or respond to your silence with silence. This happens more often as we get older, and it can be painful. But here is the truth. Your worth doesn't depend on other people's attention or validation. It exists solidly even in silence. You don't have to beg to be heard. You don't have to explain yourself to be understood. And you don't have to humble yourself to be accepted. In this video, we explore 7 quiet but powerful ways to reclaim your status, your self-respect, and the aura that once made others notice you, not with words, but with actions and energy. There is no retaliation here, just a choice to live differently, and from there, the way others see you changes. To start, learn to withdraw your energy calmly. When you stop trying to connect with people who are no longer interested, you not only protect your heart, but you also change the balance. Your absence becomes a void that is difficult to fill. When you stop initiating conversations, stop texting to ask how you are, stop reaching out when they don't appreciate it, you are making others realize that you are no longer taken for granted. Little by little, your silence begins to say something more powerful than any words, that you are valuable and you know it. Once you are no longer accessible, you become powerful. The story of Carl, a 72-year-old man who quietly stopped helping his cold neighbors and turned to taking care of himself, is proof of that. No anger, no blame, he simply lived better. End result. His absence caused the neighbor to return. But Carl was no longer Carl. He had chosen himself. And that was a quiet but profound victory. The next step? Start treating your time as if it were your most precious asset, because it is. As you age, time becomes scarcer and its value cannot be underestimated. When you give time to someone, it is a gift. When you say no to things that drain your energy, it is wisdom. And when you prioritize what makes you happy over what pleases others, it is power. Stay until the end, because you will discover a truth that will change the way you live and the way the world responds to your presence. This is not just a lesson for old age. It is a journey to rediscovering your true self-worth. When someone stops valuing you, the first thing they usually do isn't hurtful words or obvious indifference. It is how they treat your time. They show up late without apology. They cancel at the last minute as if you have nothing more important to do. They take your flexibility for granted. But what many people forget, especially as they get older, is the simple truth. If you don't value your own time, don't expect anyone else to. When you start setting clear boundaries, stop pushing back your schedule just to please someone, turn down invitations you don't really want. Not out of spite, but because you understand that your time is valuable, you send a powerful message without saying a word. Think of Tom, a 78-year-old father who used to be there for his son whenever he needed babysitting. The late calls, the lack of thanks, the growing dependence made him feel unappreciated. One day, he simply said, "That's not working for me anymore." No anger, no explanation. And from that moment on, everything changed. The appreciation returned, not because Tom demanded it, but because he made others adjust to be worthy of his time. That's the power of taking back control. Next, if you ever feel like you're being neglected, start with a simple but powerful act. Do something every day just for you. Not for your kids, not to impress anyone, but for yourself. Because when you treat yourself like you matter, you also remind the world that you are worthy of attention and respect. Maybe it's making your favorite cup of tea and sitting quietly in the morning light. Maybe it's taking a walk alone, rereading a book you once loved, dressing up for no one but yourself. You don't have to tell anyone that you're rechanging. They'll feel it in the new energy you radiate. Like Frank, the 81-year-old man who used to sit alone every night until he decided to cook Sunday dinner just for himself, candles lit jazz, playing exquisite food as if you were the guest of honor in his own home. And then, without invitation, people started to come back. Not because he was holding them back, but because he became the place they wanted to come back to. Finally, stop explaining. One of the most subtle traps that drains your power is feeling the need to explain your every action, your every emotion, your every limit to people who have stopped caring to listen. You don't need to explain why you can't help, why you need a break, why you're sad, why you choose yourself. When people truly value you, they'll understand even if you don't say much. And when they no longer value you, your words will be just a quiet echo in the void. At that point, silence isn't a surrender, it's a choice. A choice to save your energy for what's worth it. A choice to walk away without leaving a trace or a reproach. A choice to start a new chapter where you don't need to be seen to know that you're still shining. Because the truth is, you never lose your worth. You just need to remember to live as if you still have it. And when you do that, others, sooner or later, will have to look back. Stop making excuses as a form of deep freedom that very few dare to live. You don't have to explain why you're tired, why you need a break, or why you're refusing help when it's damaging your peace. Every time you justify, you're not only giving away power, but also diminishing your feelings, as if you're asking permission to feel something that's already obvious. There's a special power in a gentle but firm refusal, not of a person, but of the expectation that you're always available. When Eleanor, 75, told her sister she wouldn't lend money again, she didn't mention past times, she didn't elaborate on her feelings. She didn't defend her decision with a list of reasons, she just said, "No, not this time," and let the silence do the rest. In that simplicity, she claimed her right to protect herself. And then something strange happened. When you speak less and more clearly, people begin to listen. They realize that your boundaries are not an argument, but an unconvincing truth. You are no longer the one who is trying to be respected, but the one who demands it with your calm presence. And from there, things begin to shift. The next step is to disrupt the familiar. People tend to take for granted what is always there. When you answer immediately after one ring, when you always say, okay, when you silently sacrifice and never speak up, people start to think that you will always be there, no matter what. And from familiarity to contempt is only one step. So change, not with anger, but with awareness. If you always initiate, be quiet for a moment. If you always agree, gently decline. If you always listen, say what you think. This is not a punishment, but a reminder. I am not a given. Margaret, 79, used to be a quick stop for her daughter and granddaughter. She cooked, cleaned, supported, but felt invisible. One day, she stopped answering the door, not out of anger, but because she chose to go out and live for herself. And suddenly, her daughter returned with genuine interest. With the broken routine, presence was reappreciated. Small actions, big impact. No one needs you to do anything grand. Just one intentional change is enough to remind others that you are a living person, not a convenient habit. Next, continue to be kind, but with diamond-clear boundaries. Kindness is a gift, but unlimited kindness is where you start to lose yourself. When you give too much without asking for anything in return, you are not just teaching others that you don't need anything. You're telling them that you don't deserve to be given. Unrestricted generosity can turn you from kind to exploitative. Remember this, you can love someone and still say no. You can help someone and still say no to something that's beyond your means. You can be gentle and still have a firm voice. Because kindness doesn't mean letting others determine your worth. Kindness doesn't mean being submissive. Kindness is choosing to do good, even if that means saying no to protect your heart. And when you live like this, not with heaviness or resistance, but with clarity and consistency, others begin to approach you differently. No longer with expectation, but with gratitude. No longer with demand, but with respect. And you, in the end, not only regain your worth, but become a symbol of what many people forget: the quiet strength of a person who doesn't need to be proven, just lived. True kindness doesn't come from unconditional suffering or sacrifice, but from a deep place where you know your worth and choose to share that light intentionally, not out of obligation. When you help someone, it should be an act of genuine desire, not a feeling of obligation. Harold, 80, used to help his neighbors with groceries, take them to the doctor, and help with all sorts of errands. At first, he felt happy to be useful, but as the thank yous became less frequent and the calls grew more frequent, he began to feel like a means to an end. One day, Harold, without complaining or blaming, simply said that he would be willing to help once a week, but not as often as before. The neighbor was a little taken aback, but he backed off and respected it. Because Harold wasn't rejecting kindness, he was redefining it. He wasn't closing his heart, he was simply building a gate with a lock on it. And the important thing is, true kindness doesn't drain you. It sustains positive energy because it's regulated by boundaries. A strong boundary doesn't destroy relationships, it clarifies them. It prevents resentment from building up, creating an environment where people know how to love you without taking too much from you. When you're constantly kind but tired, always helpful but full of resentment, it's no longer kindness, it's a silent trade-off that's hollowing you out. You deserve to give in a way that makes you feel fulfilled, not just so others feel comfortable. And if you're still here, it means you're ready for a quiet but powerful shift. That shift involves saying less and living more clearly. There's a natural attraction to people who say just enough, no rambles, no justifications, no validation. When you stop explaining why you set boundaries, when you no longer feel the need to fix things to keep the peace, you begin to tap into a new kind of power. Clara, 76, used to be the one trying to smooth things over in her family, sending long texts to smooth things over to keep everyone from getting upset. But then she realized her own peace was being drained. One day, when something went wrong, she just said, "I don't think that's okay," and left it at that. No arguments, no proof, just facts. And that, short and sweet, resonates louder than any explanation. When you say less, you are implicitly saying, "I don't need your approval to feel sure of myself." It makes others stop and think, because they sense a quiet but powerful confidence in you. You don't need to shout to be seen. You just need to see yourself clearly enough that no one can obscure it. And that silence is the most attractive thing because it comes from deep and cannot be faked. As we wrap up this conversation, ask yourself, what in all of this has made you see yourself? Maybe it's gently withdrawing from people who don't like your presence. Maybe it's saying no, gently but clearly. Maybe it's making a cup of tea and enjoying a private moment each morning. Or simply saying less so that your words carry more weight. Whatever it is, remember, change doesn't need to be dramatic to have an impact. Sometimes it's intentional calm that helps you regain the presence you deserve. Not so others can see you, but so you never lose sight of yourself. Maybe you're learning to protect your time like a precious commodity, or simply starting to do one small thing every day to remind yourself that you still have value whether the world sees it or not. Whatever you're changing, remember this: your value never goes away. It's not diminished by the years, undervalued by the silence of others, washed away by the busyness or forgetfulness of anyone. It may have been overlooked, taken for granted, but it's still there, strong, enduring, waiting for you to remember it. Sometimes it's just a small action that can spark a big change. A gentle no, a necessary pause, a decision to live for yourself. And then, like a breath of fresh air in an old room, everyone around you will suddenly realize that you are not the same, not because you have disappeared, but because you have come back to yourself. And most importantly, you will feel it again. So we want to invite you to stop for a moment and think, what did you learn today? Is there anything you want to do differently? And if so, where do you plan to start this week? Your shares are not only meaningful to us, they are also inspiration for the whole community of people who are quietly learning to live more fully every day. We want to hear your story, a realization you have, a small action you want to try, a thought you find yourself in. Don't hold back, because every word you share could touch someone who needs exactly that to move forward. And if today's insights resonate with you in any way, please support us by liking, subscribing, and sharing this video. It is your presence and voice that motivates us to continue creating meaningful content, not just for you to hear, but for you to feel, live, and spread. Thank you for spending time here today. We look forward to seeing you on future journeys where you not only listen to what is right, but also choose to live what is right.